Hey everyone, so today we are cackling a story that you probably think you know inside and out, Homer's Odyssey. But what if I told you this ancient epic is hiding a profound secret, a secret about what it really, truly means to come home?
Okay, so when I say the Odyssey, what's the first thing that pops into your head? For most of us, it's going to be something pretty epic, right?
Yeah, you're probably picturing a huge, sprawling adventure out on the high seas. You've got Odysseus, our hero, battling monsters like the Cyclops, outsmarting those deadly Sirens. It's basically an ancient Greek action movie. And look, that stuff is definitely in there, but it's not the heart of the story, not even close. But then you read something like this. This is from a modern translation, and it completely flips the script. It argues the poem's real focus isn't the journey at all, but the destination. It says his greatest challenge, his greatest exploit, wasn't slaying a monster. It was the difficult, messy business of trying to pick up the pieces of his old life. So think about that. All those epic battles, all those enchanted islands. That was just the warm-up act. The final, most dangerous part of his entire 20-year journey was waiting for him right in his own living room. All right, so let's dig into that idea. First up, this story is way more than an adventure. We're talking about the unseen dangers of home. The poem is constantly playing these two worlds off each other. You've got the wider world, which is full of war and wild magic for sure. But the world at home, that's shown as something so much more precious. And because of that, so much more fragile, so precarious. The real struggle isn't about surviving a mythical beast. It's about the fight to reclaim who you are in the one place you're supposed to belong. And think about this number for a second. 20 years. I mean, just let that sink in. A full decade fighting the Trojan War, and then another entire decade lost at sea. How much would your life, your neighborhood, your family change in 20 years? Odysseus isn't returning to the place he left. He's returning to a ghost, to a memory. And this is the chaos that's waiting for him. We're talking about more than 100 guys who have basically invaded his home. They're burning through his money, disrespecting his wife, and even planning to murder his son to get him out of the way. This isn't just a little family drama. The entire social fabric of his world has been torn apart. So this whole mess at home forces us to look at our hero in a totally different light. This brings us to our next section, the man of pain, where we're going to deconstruct the hero we thought we knew. Let's be really clear about this. The Odysseus in this poem is not some kind of ancient adrenaline junkie looking for his next big adventure. No way. He is shown again and again as a traumatized survivor, a sea-bitten veteran who is just done. His one single-minded goal is to get home, and maybe even more importantly, to stay there. You see this so clearly when the goddess Calypso offers him literal immortality to stay with her in paradise, and he says no. Can you believe it? He says, "My heart aches for the day I return to my home." He chooses old age, hardship, and death with his family over eternal, blissful life as a god. That one decision tells you everything you need to know about what really matters to him. And it's not just Odysseus who feels this way. The whole poem has this powerful pro-home, anti-war vibe. When Odysseus goes to the underworld, he meets the ghost of Achilles, the greatest warrior who ever lived. And Achilles hits him with this absolutely devastating line. He says, all that fame, all that glory, it's worthless. He'd rather be the lowest servant on earth just to be alive. It's this incredible argument that the simple, quiet act of living at home is worth more than all the heroic glory in the world. So what you have is a hero who's not just physically scarred. He is carrying this huge psychological weight. He's basically the embodiment of survivor's guilt. That feeling where for every moment of relief that you made it, there's this wave of sorrow because so many of your friends didn't. His homecoming isn't some big party. It's a quiet, painful reckoning with everything he's lost. Okay, now here's where things get really sophisticated and honestly super cool. It's not just about what the story is, but how it's told. This brings us to a story about stories, all about the power of narrative. You see, the Odyssey is incredibly smart about what it is. It's not just telling us a story, it's a story that is about telling stories. The poem is constantly showing us how we build narratives, how we can twist them, and how those stories literally create the reality that we live in. And just look at who's spinning yarns in this thing. It's everybody. You have the professional poets, sure, but then you have kings telling tales, queens telling their own versions of events, and of course, our main guy, Odysseus. He tells the amazing true story of his adventures, but he also tells a whole string of completely made-up false stories. He uses storytelling as a weapon, as a disguise, as a survival tool. And get this, the people inside the poem know how important this is. They recognize and praise good storytelling. After Odysseus tells his epic tale of wandering, King Alcinous doesn't just say, "Wow, cool story." He says, "You told that with the skill of a professional bard." His ability with words is a huge part of what makes him a hero. It's like his superpower. And this whole focus on storytelling makes a ton of sense when you realize where this poem actually came from. It wasn't just written down one day. This brings us to the echoes of ancient history, and how this poem is literally a window looking back in time. See, you gotta understand, the Odyssey wasn't written by a single person in a single moment. It's the final product of centuries of oral tradition, of stories told and retold and sung around the fire from one generation to the next. And because of that, reading it is like an archaeological dig in verse. It has all these different layers from different periods of history, each one preserving its own memories and its own values. So let's break down those layers, right? The story is set way back in the Mycenaean period, this lost golden age of huge palaces and legendary kings. Then, it remembers the violent end of that age, the Bronze Age collapse, through the story of the Trojan War, this huge world-ending catastrophe. Then, for about 400 years during a so-called Dark Age of migration and smaller settlements, bards kept these stories alive, changing them to fit their new world. And finally, around the 8th century BCE, as Greece was coming back, the poem was written down into the version we have today. Which brings us to our final section, the whole point of this entire epic journey, the ultimate homecoming and the discovery of the real treasure. So picture this scene. After 20 years, Odysseus is finally home. He's disguised as an old beggar, and he's talking to his own wife, Penelope, who has no idea it's him, and she starts weeping for her lost husband, who is sitting right there in front of her. The dramatic irony is just off the charts. And look at his incredible self-control. He feels for her, but he has to hide his own tears, waiting for just the right moment. And then, when that moment finally comes, when she recognizes him and they embrace, the poet gives us one of the most beautiful and perfect comparisons in all of literature. Penelope's joy is compared to the overwhelming relief of a shipwrecked sailor who finally reaches solid land. After all his years lost at sea, Odysseus is the shore. He is safety. He is home. I mean, come on, that's just incredible. So, that's what the poem leaves us with. It's not just about getting back to a building, it's about the brutal fight to reclaim your identity, to rebuild your family, and to restore some kind of order to a broken world. After 2 decades of war and wandering and loss, what does it really mean to come home? The Odyssey suggests it's the hardest and the most important adventure any of us will ever take.